7 a.m., and it's now time for the Morning Watch.
Farmers and fishers.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to all listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the first watch today. Disgraceful people or naive fast food joint for 2 pieces of chicken. And in second watch, is peace growing? Is peace growing? For our social media question, we ask, is your community and school more peaceful now? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp, 876-9973-125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on the program, but first, here's I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, change starts at your kitchen tables. This one is from Alan Jackson.
Absolutely no comment. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning.
Absolutely no comment. the first watch. We'll be back after this break.
When you see opportunity, make sure you take it. So when I got a piece of land to grow things, I jumped at it. With my Jane Bank small business loan, I grew the opportunity. I've reaped a whole new life for my family. Now my good supply plenty market across the parish.
Jane Bank helps you grow your business with a Jane Bank small business loan that is perfect for you. Borrow from $10,000 up to $1.5 million to help cover expenses. Visit janebank.com to get started today. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance are what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Thank God for Calvary. Thank Him for His Son.
Hearts and Hands presents a fundraising concert for Reverend Glenn Graham, Part 2, featuring Kukudu, Prince Hall, Orville Sutherland, Derek McFarlane, Desmond Saunders, Sister Arlene, Sebastian Braham, Unity Singers, Udrick Tingle, music by DJ Chinny, MCs Nadine Blair and Markland Action Edwards. Admission $2,000, pre-sold $2,500 at the gate. Ticket outlets at the Brownstown Pharmacy beside KFC. KFC refreshment on sale. For more information, call 876-885-1055. Friday, June 27, 7 p.m. at the Brownstown Tabernacle, Brownstown, St. Anne. If you are unable to attend or you just want to make a donation, visit spuropen.com/Glenn Graham. Let's do this for Reverend Glenn Graham. A Love 101 endorsed event.
Count down to glory.
Get ready to lift your praises this Worship Wednesday, coming your way inside Live 1 to 5, packed with wonder, worship, warmth, and spiritual wisdom. Mental Mavericks assemble for the brain-testing exercise at 1:45. Then at 2 o'clock, we rally in reverence with Prayer Blast. Join us at 2:15 to hear our worship artist of the day. At 3 p.m., find out what's hot, what's new, what's next. Your scoop on entertainment, sports, and lifestyle right here inside Hot Topics. At 4:30, stick and stay for more fun coming your way as Auntie Vashti wraps things up with the Small People Show. All this and more will come alive 1 to 5 this World of Worship Wednesday with me, Sarah and the Chirpy One. Let the worship waves wash you over on the family station, Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise. Tell me how you feeling.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. And it seemed like near riots, or some might describe them as near riots, as if they were going to break out at KFC stores last week, Wednesday, as they celebrated their 50th anniversary. Happy birthday, by the way. Now, this promotion would ensure that everybody got a chance to benefit from the birthday celebration, but some persons have been speculating if this was the best possible way to celebrate. The question is, though, is it on KFC to celebrate in a safer way, in inverted commas, open and close quotation, or should they, or we, have expected better from those who were, in effect, invited to the birthday party? Our guest this morning to have a discussion around this, Lloyd B. Smith, veteran journalist, Chief Executive Officer, Western Mirror, and Roland Gale, media consultant. Lloyd B. Smith and Roland Gale. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning to you, sir.
Morning to you, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen, and good morning to the listeners.
Good morning, Mr. Gale. Now, was it on KFC or any celebrant to celebrate in a open quotation, safer way, close quotation? Or should we have expected better from those that were in effect invited to the party? Lloyd B. Smith, you want to go with that? Your views, your thoughts. Mr.
Hello?
Smith. Yes, Mr. Smith. Would you like to take that one?
Are you asking me to comment?
Yes, sir. If you would
Okay,
like to.
because
If you would like to.
it was a bit low. I didn't hear you clearly. Anyway, it's a twofold, a two-pronged scenario. There was no precedent set in terms of KFC celebrating its 50th anniversary, and I suspect that this would have been a rude awakening for it. At the same time, it would have been a plus for the company in terms of its overall marketing strategy over these many years, whereby it has sufficiently ingrained its brand in the Jamaican psyche, to the extent that people are now talking about KFC is the new national dish,
National dish.
which I think is an insult to our culture, really, for that to even be said. But then it shows where we are as a people, where we are losing out on our own pride and patriotic zeal. But outside of that, we have a wagonist mentality in this country, and there's a saying, one fool makes many, and I suspect that what happens is just a reflection of the society. I mean, one of the amazing things about Jamaicans, you have a free concert and people still jump over fence and try to beat the gate. That's
Yes.
the kind of mentality we have, you
Mm.
know. So it means that we need to revisit our educational system, for example. What are we creating as a Jamaican person, a Jamaican persona, because I mean, for, for people to be literally almost putting their lives in danger just to get two pieces of chicken, give me a break. I think we have gone over the edge. And it's a wake up call for us to revisit the whole question of civics and how we treat nationalism.
Well, I gather from one particular news item, Lloyd B. Smith, that it the what was offered in terms of the extra chicken would have been while stocks last. So maybe persons realizing this or assuming this is the situation would have wanted to be early or among the first. Lloyd B. Smith.
Yes, but at the same time, I mean, let's face it, you buy a big deal and you get two-piece more. I mean, is that really a big deal in the very final analysis? I don't know.
Well,
It's a case of trick or treat. I don't know. I think that, as I said, the Wagonist mentality was at work, where Jamaicans tend to follow fashion, as we say, and once you have something like that unfolding, then people get carried away. I mean, when I hear people talking about reach, I mean, KFC, I don't know, is a breakfast um, fast food eatery. Yet people are there from 5 o'clock. Even one person talked about camping out from 3 o'clock. I mean, we don't normally have um, fried chicken for breakfast in this country.
yeah.
What is more delectable than curry chicken for breakfast, or or chew chicken as against KFC fried chicken? You know, so I think the whole thing was ridiculous, and it's a slap in the face of our national identity.
Interesting, you, Mr. Smith. Roland Gale, is this a case of KFC having raving fans? Or is it a sort of herd mentality? Or a little of both, Roland Gale?
Hi, morning again. Raving fans or herd mentality. I guess it's a little bit of all of that. There was a quote that you heard a little earlier this morning. I don't know if you remember it specifically. You said you didn't have any comment on it.
And I still don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was the quote again?
Change starts at your kitchen tables.
Yeah. And to me, that is very significant. What is happening at our kitchen tables here in Jamaica? I was looking at some of the comments on a particular website that related to the KFC activity on Wednesday last week. And one of the comments raised was,
Roland Gale,
don't please.
before you give us a comment, hold the thought, because I see where we are already upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Building your house and looking for everything in hardware from ground to roof? Save the hassle. It's Robinson and Sons Hardware, dedicated to giving you the best. Call Robinson and Sons Hardware 876-715-1724 or visit 18 West Palm Avenue, Port Antonio, Portland. If we don't have it, we'll get it for you. Robinson and Sons Hardware, Port Antonio, Portland, dedicated to giving you the best. 876-715-1724.
We don't want to have a security force where people fear our police more than they fear gunmen. Every officer here, what they really want when they walk out in their community is that people say, I want my son to follow in your footsteps. They want respect, and they know they can't get that respect if people just fear them as how they fear criminals. So let us invest in building a security force that we can all be proud of. I want the security force that we are building to have ultimate and utmost respect for human rights. Let us make our JCF the force for good, the force to protect us. There were transgressions in the past. There are members of the force who they haven't got the memo yet, but I'm certain that the system that is in place in the JCF with the new leadership and command, that when officers violate, they will be dealt with. This is a world-class policing institution that we are building, one in which you can be proud and one that will be an example for the rest of the region.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and the topic is disgraceful people or naive fast food joint for 2-piece of chicken. Our guests are Lloyd B. Smith and Roland Gale. Just before the break, Mr. Gale, you are making a point. Sir, please continue.
Yes, what I was saying is that I saw a comment on the website that I was reading, and it says, don't these folks have jobs? Don't they have children to send to school? Don't they have more important things to do? And I think that is critical in the discussion. The fact that at this stage in Jamaica's life, in the life of this nation, people can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever time in the morning to go to line up in order to try to get something as simple as 2 pieces of chicken and a pack of fries. But I want to kind of change the focus a little if I can. I've been practicing communication since about 1995, which is a few years now. And I would have to say, if I were the people at this particular organization, I would have to give myself kudos for communicating in a way that has now involved, I would say, the entire Jamaica. This must be something that their advertising agency or their marketing department can learn from. And if they do learn from it, I'm sure this would not have been a wasted or a negative experience for them. You know, Sir Smith, Lloyd B., he said something earlier. He says there was really no precedent for this in that organization. And I would venture to say there is very little precedent for it in any organization. And so what we have to do is learn from this, and we have to try to take from it the insights into our culture that can help us to do better.
Well, following up on what you just said, could the behavior we saw on that day have been avoided or prevented, Mr. Gale?
I doubt it. It's very difficult. You know, Lloyd B said something else earlier. He said that when you have a free event, you find people jumping the fences. And it is something that the organization itself cannot totally avoid. There are things that you want to put in place. There are things that you want to think about and mitigate against. But when it comes to people, it's very, very difficult to avoid all kinds of problems, regardless of how well you thought about it or how determined you are to accomplish a good goal. The truth is, we all have good intentions and want to achieve excellent results in what we do. But when there are certain elements or certain individuals who want to have their agenda take the precedence, you can't anticipate everything. And I wouldn't fault this organization for not foreseeing or not putting in place all the things to make it perfect. They could have done better, but I'm not going to chastise them from my perspective.
Well, okay. Thank you, Mr. Gale. Lloyd B. Smith, is it that whenever something is described as free or a free event, is it that those events attract persons who behave in a particular way? If it was an event where you had to pay for everything, you would have likely not attracted a certain kind of behavior, Lloyd B. Smith? Or is it maybe not really so? Lloyd B. Smith? Are you muted, sir?
I recall that when I was growing up, and this was what 50 years ago that KFC came on the scene. At that time, its only location was in Crossroads area there, and I was a teacher then, and one of the highlights of taking school children to Kingston from any part of Jamaica was to go to KFC. I'm wondering, and I'm not being flippant now, but if somehow the KFC has seeped into the DNA of Jamaicans, because chicken, the KFC, it brings out something in the average Jamaican, and what unfolded last Wednesday was a culmination of this, and I think a study should be done, maybe by one of the universities, into this phenomenon, because it's quite unusual, in itself. But outside of that, to get back to what you were positing, I don't know. I think that the fact of the matter is that we do have a society that is very lacking in discipline. And we have seen other instances, albeit not as overwhelming as this has been, where people, for example, don't like to form line, and they will do everything to break the line. We have that sort of mentality. You go abroad, and it's totally different. I always find it amazing. People will queue up at a bus stop, queue up in a supermarket. In Jamaica, it's always, you know, everybody trying to beat the system. We have a beat the system mentality. So I don't think it was just a matter of eating the chicken. I think it was being part of what they saw as some kind of, almost, I wouldn't say blood sport, but some kind of strange activity where they feel that, hey, I want to be a part of this and I must get before others do. And so, as I said before, we need to revisit what we teach in our schools. We need to revisit how we, as the comment about the kitchen table situation, for example, because that is where it begins. And the kitchen table scenario really points to family, because when you sit at a table, it's usually when family meet to sit and have a meal. Unfortunately, these days, very few families sit and have meals together, and this is and this is tragic, because
Very
that is where a lot
interesting.
of
Very interesting thing you just pointed out there, Mr.
yes,
Smith.
yes,
A lot of families do not sit together all at once for a meal.
absolutely,
Yes,
right.
yes, yes.
And this is unfortunate. And what we saw unfold there is again the whole point that there's a breakdown in our family structure, and people just grab something and eat. And so we are at that point now where KFC, as I said, to me, it seems as if the KFC is in our DNA.
And
you know, uh,
interestingly, perhaps one of the few times when persons sit around a table to have a meal together might be in a restaurant such as a KFC restaurant.
yes, And these days, when they sit at the table to eat, everybody takes out his or her
Phone.
cell phone.
Yes.
So there's no conversation.
Yes.
There's no, interaction,
Yeah.
which is so sad, really. And I think this is the whole point of socialization, where we have reached, where we need to revisit this thing. And as I said, it would be good if the Department of Psychology at one of our universities take up this as a study. I think it deserves
I would
further
even,
investigation.
and I would also add the Department of Sociology at whichever institution too.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Rather than just condemning the act and throw it on the bus, I think it deserves an in-depth study.
And
Yes.
by the way, just on an editorial note, Mr. Smith, I think, well, it is indicated, if you do an internet search, that the first KFC location in Jamaica was on Old Hope Road.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yes, but perhaps the location that you made mention of would have probably come after. I'm not sure, but
Oh, okay,
the
all right.
first
Well,
location
my bad
here.
there, yes. But that's the one that stood
Not
out
to
in my
worry.
mind.
Not to worry, Mr. Smith. I'm just
Yes.
pointing out for the benefit of the listeners.
Yeah.
That is what is recorded as their first location
Uh-huh.
here in Jamaica.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Roland Gale, KFC. There has been this comment going around lately now since the 50th anniversary celebration. Apologies. That KFC is a national dish. In fact, I saw a Vox Pop where someone was asked about what happened on the relevant day, and he was very clear. In as far as he was concerned, KFC is a national dish, not ackee and saltfish. Roland Gill.
I consider that to be a kind of tongue-in-cheek and facetious comment. I've heard,
yes.
I've heard people say that mosquito is our national bird, and I mean, you know why? Because it is ubiquitous and so on. But the truth of the matter is, for me, I think that it just speaks to the decline in how we view ourselves, in how we consider the nation that we are a part of. I kind of just dismiss it. I laugh and I dismiss it when they say that KFC is a national dish. A few years ago, you probably would have said it was something else. What I would like to raise, though, is the idea that as a organization, the company did a good job of actually sensitizing people to what was coming. Before, from the weekend before, I heard people asking the question, is this true? Could they possibly do this? And for them to actually put it out and accomplish, I think, to a large degree, what they wanted to accomplish. As Lloyd B. Smith said, this is worthy of being a case study, and it should be a case study for a number of different organizations. Go ahead.
No. I was listening to you, sir. I was just remembering I had passed one of the locations and I saw the massive crowd, and it was, you could see the security struggling, and the police were even at the location. I suppose they were trying to restore some level of order and calm.
Yeah, what I know of things like this, is that, well, at least in my experience, you have to alert the authorities, you have to alert the different government agencies, you have to alert the police when you're doing stuff like this. And so I don't think that it was pure naivety on their part. As I said earlier, I don't see how anyone could claim that they have the ability to control and anticipate everything that human beings do, because human beings are so dynamic. We come up with things that nobody can anticipate.
Roland Gale, Lloyd B. Smith, I think we're completely out of time right now, and I want to thank the both of you gentlemen for your very interesting comments, because we might now be having a sociological study, a psychological study, all kinds of analyses going forward in terms of this sort of event here in Jamaica. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and for your thoughts.
Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. Have a good day now.
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back in the Morning Watch.
Jane Bank, anything possible with a little savings in your hand. Save so you can.
The time by Jan Bank is
7:30.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jan Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jan Bank will help you find a way.
Enjoy the best of your home with the Home and Things Shop and Save Spectacular. We're talking porcelain, ceramics, sintered stone, and mosaic tiles, all at super low prices. Find the perfect faucet, open up huge savings on windows and doors, or brighten your home with beautiful lighting options, plus so much more. Everything under one roof at unbeatable prices and superior quality. Visit Old Hope Road and Castle Spring Road. The Home and Things Shop and Save Spectacular. See you there.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with grace.
Thank God for Calvary. Thank him for his son.
Hearts and Hands presents a fundraising concert for Reverend Glenn Graham, Part 2, featuring Kukudu, Prince Hall, Orville Sutherland, Derek McFarlane, Desmond Saunders, Sister Arlene, Sebastian Braham, Unity Singers, Udrick Tingle, music by DJ Chinny, MCs Nadine Blair and Markland Action Edwards. Admission 2,000 pre-sold, 2,500 at the gate. Ticket outlets at the Brownstown Pharmacy beside KFC. Refreshment on sale. For more information, call 876-885-1055. Friday, June 27, 7 p.m. at the Brownstown Tabernacle, Brownstown, St. Anne. If you are unable to attend or you just want to make a donation, visit sparopen.com/Glenn Graham. Let's do this for Reverend Glenn Graham. A Love 101 endorsed event.
Count down to glory.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, teachers vote overwhelmingly to return LaSonia Harrison to JTA presidency. We turn to the Observer. Prison not a Playboy mansion. Reverend Peter Garth rejects conjugal visits proposal. This story by Alicia Dunkley Willis, senior staff reporter at the Observer. And we have in Loop Jamaica News. Government to unveil profound plan to slash energy costs for Jamaicans. Prime Minister Holness. And further afield on the international scene, a number of news outlets online, WSJ for instance, and Al Arabiya English and Business Today. For instance, WSJ reads, Israel declares Iran's central bank a terrorist organization. Business Today, well, Al Arabiya English states Israel designates Iran central bank terror organization. And there is a headline in Business Today which also speak to them funneling billions, etc. Those and many many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is your community and school more peaceful now? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love One of Them Jamaica live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
The name you trust to be your friend, to be a partner by your side. For generations we have been the one you trust as your financial guide. Sagicor, building trust for generations, helping hopes and dreams to grow, building our nation. Sagicor's the name you know. Sagicor.
Sagicor, celebrating 55 years.
Building trust for generations. I'll keep you smiling as I watch you grow. I'll keep you smiling. Lacta Plus. Love to see you healthy and smiling, growing strong and you're thriving. Love means I stay by your side.
Lacta Plus. Support your toddler's immune system and mental development at this important stage. This product is not intended to be a substitute or complement to breast milk.
Lacta Plus.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now for your responses to our social media question. Is your community and school more peaceful now, Jakal?
All right, so we have two responses. The first one is from Edna in Montego Bay. Let's hear from her.
Morning, Watch. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. Let me first touch on the KFC saga. I think KFC have done it the way they think it should, and the way best for both them and the customers, so that they both could benefit. But for me, I would think they should have just have a little token for those who come in to buy. Just have a little token for customers that come in to buy. But that's it. On the other hand now is my community and school are safe, are peaceful. Yes, I've seen a level of peace in my community for quite a while. I hope it remains just the same for the school now. Yes, same for the school, but I wish it could be better. Yes, I wish it could be better.
All right, thank you, Edna. Cherry says, for my community, we didn't have that great issue, thanks be to God. But for other communities that I heard and know of, they are now more peaceful, thanks be to God.
Well, we move right into the second watch. Sandy Bay Primary in Hanover has emerged as the winner of the Trees for Peace competition, an initiative of the Violence Prevention Alliance in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. To tell us more about this, we have as guests Dr. Elizabeth Ward, Chair of the Violence Prevention Alliance, and Reverend Courtney Walters, retired Associate Chaplain of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and Minister at in relation to the Jamaica Baptist Union. Reverend Walters, Dr. Ward, good morning.
Good morning.
I will start with you, Dr. Ward. Are you hearing us, Dr. Ward? Dr. Ward? Well, let's start with you then, sir, Reverend Walters. I wanted to ask Dr. Ward if she could tell us about the initiative, but because it would likely, be something she would have been more in touch with on a day-to-day based on her role, but not to take away from you at all, sir. Tell us about this initiative that the Violence Prevention Alliance had in relation to this whole matter of peace in schools, if you would.
frankly, I do not have any details on the matter. I only know that the school was given the award based upon their performance in the peace initiative, but I really don't know the details or the criteria that was used to decide on that particular institution. Hello?
Morning.
Yes. I think we have Dr. Ward on now, so maybe she can help to, as it were, fill in the blanks. Dr. Ward,
Okay.
we would love if you could enlighten us as to what the initiative was about. Reverend Walters was attempting to fill your very large shoes, but he has yielded to you, madam. So would you please enlighten us as to what this initiative is or was about?
Yeah. Well, Violence Prevention Alliance has the target of working together with people to build peace and harmony across the country. And we use different ways of achieving that. And we know that when you reach young people and when you get into the schools and when you generate energy and excitement about something, that you can achieve a lot. So we tried before COVID, and we did Trees for Peace with the Ministry of Education. And it's an invitation that is sent out to all the schools and say, would you like to enter the Peace Garden competition? And here's a set of criteria that you're going to be judged against. And the school sign up. You have to sign up through the principal or the guidance counselor and send us a picture of where you're going to put the garden. So we know what it looks like when it starts and that. At the end of the competition, the school sent in pictures of what they did along the way and how they got to their garden. And then they sent in videos, which are all on Instagram, on VPA Jamaica, of what their garden became. And then we judged those schools with a multidisciplinary team, people like from forestry, and the Early Childhood Commission came with us, 4-H, and that. And we also got them to be part of a team to go and visit the schools and then identify the winners. So schools have created this clean, green space where all their peace building activities can be held and it can be used by the students, by the teachers, by the parents for counseling sessions. Some people have made it into a math garden. Some people have made it also into a literacy garden. They do different activities in the garden. And Sandy Bay came out in Hannibal, right by the sea, with a beautiful peace garden with many different components.
And let us not assume that we understand what some of these terms mean. What is meant by, for instance, peace? What is a peace garden? And what are peace building activities, Dr. Ward? But can you respond to those questions after the break? Because we are already upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
The time that Grace could move is
7:45.
Caption Productions presents Marlon Hughes EP launch Sunday, June 29, 6:30 p.m. at the Church of the Open Bible, 12 Washington Boulevard, Kingston. Come see Geneva Air, J-Dad, Mr. Praise, and of course the man himself, Marlon Hughes. MC, yours truly, Sarah and the Chirpy One. Music by Margie Red, Bring the Breeze. Admission free. For more information, call 876-796-5333. You can't afford to miss it.
Astronaut to fly in the sky. Are you ready for something mega? Spend $6,500 or more before GCT. Drop your entry in the box and you can win a 2025 Hyundai Tucson. It's the Mega Wheels 2 promotion. April 5th to September 28th. Second prize, a $50,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Third prize, a $30,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Brought to you by Hyundai, Restaurant, Heineken, True Milk, Rex, Walker's Wood, Downing, CPJ Daiquiri, and Carryburst. Juice Concentrate. Only at Megamart. Locations island-wide. Megamart. Best value by far. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Rating Gaming and Noise Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic is peace growing? Our guests are Dr. Elizabeth Ward and Reverend Courtney Walters. Now, just before the break, Dr. Ward, I had indicated that let us not make any assumptions. Can you define for us terms? What is meant by peace? What is a peace garden? And what are peace building activities? Dr. Ward, please continue.
Peace really is an absence of conflict, if you want to do it very simply, where one can grow, achieve one's potential, and in harmony with others and within themselves. I think Rev will probably do a much better overall definition of it. But the main thing with the Peace Gardens was to create a space where this management of conflict could be carried out. So therefore, counseling activities happen there, drumming circles happen there, exercise programs that are relieving stress are happening there. And parents come in and talk with the teachers. Children go there when they need some quiet time to be able to calm themselves and not react immediately. And generally to express their feelings and fears and some of the stresses and strains that a lot of our children or students or teachers or administrators or parents carry around and don't often stop long enough to release them before they react to all the situations that are there outside.
And are any of the activities that take place there, including things such as transcendental meditation, yoga, anything like that?
There's a lot of quiet time, and there is the use of breathing techniques where one learns how to calm oneself using breathing. Every school can do, and every garden can do what they like to do. I'll tell you what. One up in the hills in St. Anne, Grant Mountain. What they did was like a hopscotch. They had a red circle, and that's where you stand when you're angry. Then you jump your squares till you reach a blue circle. You take a deep breath, you relax, and you let out your anger. And there are other things that the children and the students and the teachers came up with. One was like an expression wall where you can write your feelings on the wall or even on little tablets of how you feel. So you're writing out and trying to relieve tension.
Is that the same as a sensory wall?
A sensory wall, no, was done by in Hanover, and what it was different sounds and different instruments. Just put out pots and pans and pipes and that. Just something to make some vibrations, to make noise, to release tension, but also something that children that have disabilities can relate to more easily. They might not feel as comfortable trying to write on an expression wall, but they can beat out sounds and get different sounds, and that from the sensory wall.
And circle time, what is that about, if anything?
Circle time is when everybody sits in a circle. Everybody looks at each other, and it's used a lot in restorative justice. It's used a lot in music therapy. Everybody is looking at everybody else in the circle, and you put people who maybe not even agreeing with each other and at the same level of authority. So you would be mixing teachers and students and maybe administrators, and everybody has a drum, and then they're taught basic drumming techniques. And this is something that we have seen people who were never talking to each other, people who were bullying each other before, make friends with others over the music and the camaraderie and that happens when you do drumming circles or circle time. It can also be a time where people just discuss what's happening to them in their lives, what's upsetting them, and it's something. If you haven't tried it, you have to do it, because it really makes an amazing difference. And keep seeing it over and over in the children's homes, in schools, in camps. At Easter camp up at Augustown, we did drumming circles, and it was amazing to see 50 people all together, and the lack of aggression and the lack of conflict doing and how they were communicating with each other and able to carry on without the stresses that were there.
And when you say drumming, explain what kind of drumming are they doing?
Well, it can be any kind of drumming, but I mean more to do with our heritage. We usually use Jamaican drums, djembe, and those types of drums. But it can be done on fancy drum sets as well, and they've even done tests of brain changes in the brain waves that occur with drumming, and increases in things like inhibitory control, being able to relax oneself. They see the changes when you use drumming and music therapy in general, but drumming particularly has been very effective. And it's something that's cost effective, people enjoy, and
only because of time, Dr. Ward, if I could ask you quickly, because we want to get a comment as well from Reverend Walters. In terms of drumming, is there any spirituality involved in the drumming, or it's purely?
No. It's just it's the rhythm that really goes more with your heartbeat, and it's a way
and
of
different schools will probably apply the same techniques, but perhaps mix it along with other things that they do in that particular school, as you indicated earlier.
And I mean, like, I would say to you that there's a variety of activities in each garden any school can decide. At Sandy Bay, they had peace swim, and they had a little boxing activity, which just a little small play boxing bag and gloves. And what was also
Understood. I would
interesting.
only because I want to bring in Reverend Walters because
Sure, sure.
you have outlined for us quite comprehensively what the initiative is about. Reverend Walters,
Yes.
we apologize for the limited time, sir. We just wanted to have Dr. Ward explain, as clearly as she can. And she has done
Okay.
an excellent job of outlining what the initiative is about. As a minister of religion, whilst persons will welcome initiatives toward peace, just a couple of things that she said there. Some persons listening to us might say it sounds wonderful, but could this be the thin edge of the wedge? Could it be a slippery slope? Because some of the activities that she outlined, and no prejudice whatsoever to Dr. Ward, who is trying to do her best, I am assuming, to get things peacefully done. Some persons might have the thought, is this bordering a little bit on things that are not totally Christian or not Christian at all? Some of the activities, the deep breathing, some people might take issue with that. Some people might think this is bordering on meditation, transcendental meditation. Your thoughts, Reverend Walters, before we wrap, sir?
First of all, I think that the initiatives are commendable. The idea of the peace garden and all that type of thing, I think it's very commendable.
Yes.
Secondly, persons will read into any activity what they want to read into it. So I am not too concerned about how persons are interpreting these particular initiatives.
So if I could ask you one thing, sir, you would rubbish the concerns of persons who might wonder if it sounds a little bit along those lines, you think?
Well, I don't know about rubbishing it, but I would not begin with that contemplation. In other words, I am appreciating what these initiatives have the potential to do to our students who are sometimes in an aggressive and unsettled mental state.
Yeah.
And how it helps to calm them, how it helps to make them more rational, right? And I think that is what we want in these institutions, more people to think more rationally.
A quick one, Reverend Walters, because we're almost out of time already. You might recall, or you might have definitely heard of a time when Jamaicans were not this violent. We don't know what has happened. Well, maybe you have some ideas what might have changed. And some persons may make the point that when Jamaicans were a little bit more Christian in their outlook, in how they applied Christianity in their lives, you had less violence. So is it that we need to return to some of these principles and ways of living? Your thoughts, Reverend Walters, before we wrap?
Well, I think that ethical principles are always commendable.
Ethical, not Christian, ethical.
Christian, yes, but everybody will not subscribe to a Christian way of life. Okay. But I believe that if we strive to be ethical in our actions and in our thinking, that it affects our integrity, it affects how we relate to each other, it affects how we deal with our personal and corporate affairs.
Oh, well, in the past, when our culture wasn't so violent, is it that we were ethical then or Christian?
Yes, I believe that there was a time when persons were more Christian, ethically oriented in life, when persons when values, many of the Christian values like love and joy and peace were
Reverend
prominent.
Walters, I think we're completely out of time. Dr. Ward, I'm getting a massive signal. It's now 8:00. I want to thank both of you for being with us this morning on the Morning Watch. Very interesting discussion. And thank you very much for your time and for your thoughts. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app. Stay connected to us, the number one gospel station in Jamaica, Love 101 FM. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join me tomorrow as we look at all the issues of the day. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing back to Love in the Morning with Chakal.
Truth is, you can live life to the fullest with HIV. This time signal is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The time is
8 a.m. and you are now in